We are expecting a statement from the head of Scotland Yard's counter-terrorism unit very shortly, but in the meantime we can speak to an eyewitness this afternoon, Muddassar Ahmed, who's been very kind to join us this evening. You saw what unfolded from Portcullis House opposite Big Ben.
Absolutely, very, very shocking. I just entered Portcullis House 10 minutes before everything sort of happened, and I was in a meeting and suddenly my phone started going off and people started calling me. And we looked out the window and we saw a scene of horror. We saw dead bodies lying around, and at the moment that I'd actually looked across, we'd seen the car slam into the rails, and I saw the person who driving the car being treated. It was so shocking and completely out of the blue.
You must have been terrified to witness it.
At the time it was very terrifying because I was right next to the window, so we weren't sure if a bomb was going to go off and what position that put us in. We saw lots of armed men running around. It's something that you hear about but never expect to ever experience in your life, particularly not here in London.
And you captured some of the images
I did, yeah.
On your phone, which I think we can see now. Just in the sense of how quickly the police were able to respond to this. I mean, from the images that we've seen, they were straight all over the bridge.
I was very impressed by how quickly the security services reacted. I mean, it was within a matter of minutes that police were all over the place. You had armed men, SWAT teams, ambulances, fire officers. The police did a fantastic job. And, you know, although we were scared watching it unfold, we did kind of feel secure with so much security presence around so quickly.
And what could you see of the attacker himself?
Well, by the time I managed to look at him, he was on the floor being treated by medical services. So all I could see was a guy on a stretcher being treated.
So did you see him leave his vehicle, as has been suggested, and run round, or did you see it at the point at which that unfolded in Palace Yard?
All I remember seeing was a guy on the floor on a stretcher. So I didn't actually see the bit where he was running around. But yeah.
And what was happening in Portcullis House at the time? I mean, obviously you were able to witness this, but then presumably the whole of the security lockdown came into force very quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so we were trapped in our rooms. We weren't allowed to leave. Everybody was very worried. We had security teams inside running from door to door, checking in on people. That in itself was quite scary because when you hear men running outside screaming, you don't know whether they are the good guys or the bad guys. It's a very, very nerve-wracking experience. I wouldn't wish it on anyone.
And what happened to you next? How long were you there, and what was the procedure in Portcullis House?
Well, for a while they told us to stay put in our rooms. Then they asked us to go downstairs into the main courtyard where 200-300 people were gathered. As soon as we went downstairs, they changed the advice and told us to go back upstairs again. And then we stayed in our rooms for what seemed like 3 or 4 hours. And we had we had some information coming through, but the information always said, stay where you are, don't move. And literally the whole place was on lockdown. Toilets were shut, rooms were shut. You couldn't really leave. So it was very, very frightening.
And you must, just reflecting on it this evening, presumably must still be in some shock, especially given what we've all learned about what unfolded here on Westminster Bridge itself.
Yeah, absolutely. A shock turning into anger. I can't believe this is happening in my city, in the mother of all parliaments, a place that I cherish, a place that really speaks so true to the kind of world that we want to live in. I mean, people have their criticism of politics, but we have a very special institution here in Parliament, and it was very upsetting to see that happen here.
And how were the people around you? I mean, it must have been extremely busy in Portcullis House.
Well, people were shocked, they were crying, they were very visibly upset, and, you know, everybody was just so shocked. You could see it on their faces. And I remember, I've never been in a place with so much shock in one room.
OK, Muddassar Ahmed, thank you very much for giving us your time tonight. Let's cross straight now to Scotland Yard to hear from the head of the Met's counter-terrorism unit, Mark Rowley. You can hear as we're waiting for that statement, there is still police and emergency services activity right behind us here. I can just see an ambulance emerging from St Thomas's Hospital. Let's cross live now.
To update on the operational update I gave earlier on.